What's up? It's Sunday. Sunday fun day. Who's got some fun plans? It's raining outside right now, and I'm gonna have to haul my equipment out in it. But right now it looks like just some drizzle. So the JC should survive. And I think I'm gonna be coming strapped. I'm gonna bring my acoustic guitar and the Strat to this gig. And I want to just jam it up this morning, get warmed up, do all that fun stuff, get the coffee here. Who's got coffee? You need to hit the like button right now if you love iced coffee, because I do. I love it. And my coffee of choice is Folgers Black Silk. Where I live, it's $22 for a container. Where is the price for Folgers Black Silk where you're at? Yeah, 22 bucks. Unreal. And apparently Target has the cheapest price, and they'll run it on sale, like buy one get one free. So I have to go in there and snatch them up. So I get that Folgers Black Silk going, and I really wanted to hop up on here today, and I know that playing guitar is my primary COIL, my chief objective in life. That's an acronym, COIL, like single coil guitar. COIL is an acronym for chief objective in life. What is my chief objective in life? It's to, get some practice in this morning, do this gig later today. It's a 3-hour gig, an art gig. And that's the main inspiration. That's the reason I wanted to make a video today. I wanted to talk about art, and I wanted to talk about just real art, not digital art or anything like that. And we're not talking about AI. We are talking about AI, but we're talking about what art actually does to the artist's brain and the musician and all these people who create with real authentic instruments, and they use their imagination. So in these videos, earlier in these videos, I talked about how I was an English teacher, and in order to be an English teacher I actually had to take a certification exam, which wasn't easy. It was actually quite challenging. So one of the things I learned from my little study guide that was kind of useless too, I bought this study guide and read this whole thick textbook, was highlighting like a college student, and none of this information was even on the test. So, but one of the things I learned from that textbook was that the science world, studying pedagogy, studying teaching, was able to discover that when students handwrite, when they write with a pencil and paper, and they write in cursive, or they just write in general in a journal, whatever the case, that when they hold the pencil, they hold the pen, and they're actually writing on paper, there's areas of the brain that are responsible for visualization that become active when you're doing that activity. So areas of the brain responsible for visualization are lighting up on the little scientific meters, the measurement tools, showing that the visualization areas of the brain are active when you write. So therefore you're channeling your imagination, because when you are using your imagination, we typically picture things in our head, right? It's our visualization ability. So when you are journaling, your thoughts are more concise and complete because you aren't hitting backspace every other second. That's what this study guide had said. It said that the areas for visualization kept getting interrupted when the student, or the subject rather, was hitting backspace. So they said that when you write and you're just flowing out, the areas of the brain become active. So this is a sort of thing too. When I was playing just now, I didn't have any thoughts in my head actually at all. And I know you may think, oh well, that's why it sounded like crap, right? I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just fooling around right here. And the thing is that you basically, what I'm getting at here is that from doing an artistic activity, you kind of get into a trance state, is what it is. You dissociate. I do, at least. Like I notice that if I perform at an open mic where I'm really on stage and people are looking at me and I'm the main focus, there's definitely a chemical reaction or something occurring in my brain, because when I leave the stage I feel my body feels in a different chemical state. So all of these things put together are interesting to know. It's just some interesting information to know, because really the visualization centers of the brain, that's pretty much the window to the imagination. That's pretty much the portal with which, if we can visualize it in our head or hear it in our head, the melody, then we can do it here. We can do it in this material plane. So essentially, you want to engage in activities that stimulate that part of the brain, the third eye, as much as possible. And journaling does it. Playing music does it. Um, when you practice with a metronome, for example, that click track will put you into a trance. And this is, again, I've talked about it in the previous video of how when you repeat something so much, you have it down so well that you are able to deviate from it in creative ways and make it work. So another thing I wanted to mention, kind of on the same topic about visualization centers of the brain and whatnot, I had another lesson when I was teaching public school, when I was teaching English. This was a reading activity, and the article was basically about how, this was an MIT study actually, they hooked up a bunch of electrodes or whatever to the brains of musicians, and they hooked it up to the highly educated jazz musician, and then they hooked it up to the more amateur guitar player. There was guitar players that I think that they were actually studying. And the accomplished jazz musician had less of the creative part of their brain actually functioning. And the reason why was because of the repetition. They had everything that they were doing when they were playing was, for the most part, muscle memory. It was all internalized, so they pretty much, for the most part, were barely even having to think while doing this complex activity on the instrument. So then they found that the more amateur guitar player had more the creative centers of the brain were more active, because they were in a discovery stage. They were in discovery mode with the guitar. They were fooling around with it, trying to figure it out. So what does this tell us? I guess it tells us that sometimes if we know too much information, or we get something down to a certain level, perhaps it would take more and more effort to get the creative center of our brain going. So what I'm saying is that this can often be why, when you look at the more advanced styles of music, or the modern jazz, or even the modern classical and stuff like that, you hear the stuff that is just so far beyond, I guess you could say, normal music, normal digestible melodies and normal chord progression and whatnot, all that stuff. Like when you hear all this kind of outside playing among these modern jazz guitar players and stuff, I guess the main reason is because these folks have practiced all this other stuff so much that their tolerance, I guess you could say, is so high that they have to do these crazy outside scales that you never would have even thought of if you hadn't learned all this other stuff. Like, kind of like the phrase, you have to know the rules in order to break them. That's definitely a fact with music, or anything creative for the most part. In order to augment the actual possibilities that are in the medium, you have to go outside of the box. You have to do things and take risks. So that being said, y'all, think about what I just said here. Think about this. This is powerful information. Are you looking to stimulate the visualization part of your brain? Learning an instrument can definitely help you get you there. How do you think that learning a horn can help you with visualization? What do you think you're doing when you're trying to reach the pitch? Like, you have something in your head that you're trying to go towards. Like, in your head, you know what a D natural is, and you're trying to hit that note here. In reality, you're trying to match something that you have in your head. That's why, for the most part, the musicians with horns and horn players, they could improvise way more fluently, it seems like, than a guitar player. And when you hear these horn lines, especially in jazz guitar, I mean, when jazz guitar first started off with like Charlie Christian and these folks, what do you think they were trying to imitate on guitar? They were trying to imitate horns, voices, bebop singing, all that kind of stuff. It's a lot harder to do on the guitar than it is to sing it. And I even noticed, like, whenever I would hear Christmas music playing in department stores and at the shopping malls, like, real loud when I was a kid shopping, I could just go along with the bebop style of singing. And that's the funny thing about singing and about musical ability in general, is that, like, if you sing in a church or whatever, everybody kind of has a natural tendency to try to match the pitch. Everyone tries to, they get in harmony with a group of people a lot easier than just by themselves, right? They can attain it a lot better. Pretty much like the more people that sing, the more chance there is of there being some degree of people getting in tune. Maybe, maybe not, who knows? But what I'm saying is this, is that, yeah, you kind of have to get rid of technology. You have to take technology out of the equation in order to really nurture the mind and the creative part of yourself. That's why, like, people who, I see these videos of people who will go out into the wilderness and then build their own huts to camp in, like these survivalist type people who, they have to use every bit of their mind and their imagination, pretty much in every next move that they make. When they're in the wilderness, they're going against natural daylight, so their mind has to be as sharp as possible to order their tasks to beat the sunset. That's how that goes. So like the most dangerous thing about a human being is the imagination. It's the human imagination. You can think of virtually anything. If you can think of it in your head, you can create it. So that's really what it's about. But how do we see it in our head? That's the question. How do we stimulate that part of our mind to come up with this stuff? And it's kind of like I mentioned, journaling for writers. They should keep a handwritten journal. For visual artists, it would be physically drawing, physically sketching 24/7, drawing what they see. Getting into a flow state, which these people at the studio later on today, that's what they're going to do. I'm going to be getting into a trance, playing the music. They're going to be in a trance, drawing to this. So, I mean, how exciting. I love that, because it's a huge group of people in one place who are all tapping into their imagination all at the same time. I mean, that's wonderful. That's the main that's my coil. That's my chief objective in life right now, is to get out there and do that. So anyway, take this for what it is. I hope I didn't leave anything out in my explanation. Pretty much gathering with all this together, handwritten tools, acoustic instruments, the very bare minimum of musical instruments, singing, for God's sake, just singing together, that's coming up with melodies, straight from the imagination. The closer the mind is to the tool that you can actually express through, like the pencil in the paper, without having to type through a machine, because when you type, actually the keyboard commands the computer. It's actually going through a whole lot more to get up on that screen, I guess, than just flowing directly onto the paper from the point of the pencil. So that's pretty much what I'm getting at here. There's a lot more I could talk about with that, but for right now, this video is like pushing 20 minutes. So take it for what it is. Get creative, you know what I mean? Don't let the knowledge corrupt your sense of creativity in a way. And if you know a lot, it's time that we maybe forget what we know. As to put it this way, I'll end with this, with the great Yoda: you must learn how to unlearn, I guess. You must unlearn what you've learned. Whatever it is. Alright, Jedis, peace out.